So Resident Evil is a series chock full of many wonderful characters. Unfortunately, many of them go underutilized in favor of Leon and Chris. With Chris, we've had him in pretty much every game since Resident Evil 5, whether he's the main character of that game or he's more of a side background character like in Resident Evil 8. And then with Leon, his big thing here lately has been he's been the main character of all the CG movies, and he was the main character of Infinite Darkness, the Netflix CG series that came out last year. So we have been well fed content regarding Leon and Chris, but what about all the other characters? You know, I've gone in depth before talking about Jill and what's the deal with her. When will we see her again? When will she make her return to the series? But there are other characters that have been missing for a while as well. The two big ones for the longest time, you know, before all these other characters kind of started to disappear, was Carlos and Billy back in the day. You know, when we entered the second trilogy of Resident Evil, a lot of people were kind of wondering when we might ever see these two characters again, and we still haven't seen them. All we've gotten for Carlos was the reimagining of Resident Evil 3, and for Billy, he still hasn't shown up. He was said to have been in the discussion to show up in Infinite Darkness, but we all know that never happened. All we got for that was Leon and Claire. So neither one of those two characters have shown up since their first, you know, debut in 0 and 3. So hopefully we get to see them one day, but those are two major characters that have just not shown up. And then we have others like Resident Evil 5's Sheva. Where is Sheva? She's a hugely popular character that many fans really enjoyed and liked. They just didn't care for her AI in that game, but the character herself, a lot of people are fans of Sheva, and yet we have yet to hear or see anything about this character. So that's another major character that people would really love to see make another appearance. Whether she's a side character or if she's the main character, doesn't really matter. It'd just be cool to see Sheva once again. And then with Resident Evil 6, you got several characters in that just haven't made any more appearances. Jake, Sherry, and Helena are the three playable characters from that game that just haven't made any sort of appearance. You know, all of them I really enjoyed. I enjoyed all three of these characters while playing Resident Evil 6. They were really fun to play as, and I like their character arcs and everything like that, but we haven't seen them since then. And it's really strange, particularly with Jake, because his ending appears in every campaign in Resident Evil 6. We see the same ending with him helping the child fight the BOWs after receiving an apple in every campaign ending. And so it seems like Capcom had plans for Jake, but nothing ever comes of it. Instead, we end up taking a completely different route with Resident Evil 7 and 8 featuring Ethan Winters, which is kind of crazy in of itself that Ethan Winters gets 2 games back to back before the son of Albert Wesker even gets a second game. So it's very strange that they never did anything more with the character. And even things like Sherry, I mean, she's the daughter of William Birkin, and we haven't seen her since Resident Evil 6, and that's going on 10 years now. So it's very odd that we haven't seen any of these characters in some time, but it doesn't even just contain hero-like characters that we haven't seen in a while. Even some villain characters have just sort of disappeared, such as Alex Wesker from Revelations 2. What's the deal with that story? Like, why hasn't Capcom given it any sort of closure or continuation or anything? You know, we know that she successfully transferred her consciousness into Natalia at the end of Revelations 2, but we haven't seen anything else from that. I did make a video speculating that maybe she is the one behind the BSAA dealing with bioweapons now, but that's just my theory. None of that's been confirmed. As far as we know right now, she is yet another character that Capcom has thrown on the shelf to collect dust and be forgotten about. I would love to see Alex Wesker re-emerge in some form. And then on top of that, you have Jessica and Raymond from Revelations 1. What happened to those two? You know, where'd they go? They were collecting samples and stuff for Tricell, but where are they now? What's the deal? We never heard of them getting arrested or defeated or anything like that, so where are these two characters at? It'd be really interesting to see them, and you could bring back Parker from the first Revelations. Bring him back because he was a cool character, and he had connections with Jessica and Raymond. So it would be really cool to see those three back and just see what they could do with that, because there's just so much potential with so many of these characters, and yet Capcom does nothing with any of them. And it's really irritating. I mean, I would love to see more than just Chris and Leon, you know. It'd be really cool to see more of these characters and just what they could do with them, the potential and things like that, but I don't know when we might see them. Like I say, with Resident Evil 6 characters, you know, Jake, Helena, and Sherry, they might as well be just as dead as Pierce in that game, because who knows when we'll actually see them again, if ever. You know, they could end up getting the Billy Carlos treatment and just be gone from the series, especially when you consider the route that we seem to be going with now following Rose Winters and what her story will be, potentially being the main character of Resident Evil 9. I mean, I just don't know. It just seems kind of odd that Capcom keeps making these awesome characters only to give them one game and then forget about them. You know, and these are major characters too, like the son of Albert Wesker. How does he only have one game? That just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know. I just wanted to make a video kind of discussing it, and because I know a lot of fans agree that Capcom could do more with these characters and utilize them better, more properly, because we haven't seen a lot of them in a while. I mean, it was a treat just to get Rebecca in Vendetta again, you know, like that was awesome, because we hadn't seen Rebecca since Resident Evil 0, technically Resident Evil 1, because, you know, she is playable and in that game, but her last game that she was the main character was 0. So it was really cool to see her in Vendetta, but she played such a, you know, lackluster role, the damsel in distress, that kind of want more for her character. And that's all we've gotten was the damsel in distress version of Rebecca. We haven't gotten anything else. She was rumored for a Revelations 3, but that hasn't been confirmed or anything. So that's another character that we're just kind of waiting to get more out of, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I don't know what anyone else's thoughts are, but I do think most people would agree that Capcom should be doing more with a lot of these characters and showing them off more than just Chris and Leon continuously. But I'll go ahead and end this video here, and I shall see you all on the next one. See you then.